Hi, everyone. Welcome to our amazing painting webinar of May 2020. Today's Friday, May 14th, 2021. I'm not even sure if my brain works. Thanks for being here. We had some casualties, metaphorically speaking. Sarah had something that she had to do, and then Beth will take the webinar later. So there are more people, but it's just going to be a little bit out of step, I guess. But thanks for being here. Super excited about this assignment. And really quickly, first of all, I have to say, hi, Jen. Thanks for being there.
Hi.
And yes. This is the example that I put. This was not easy, which makes me really excited because I feel much more appreciation for the painting. These are the kind of things that I feel so privileged to discover and enjoy, because we can talk about the painting, study the painting, and find the story behind it and stuff like that. Painting it or painting inspired by it already elevates our experience. But doing this, trying to replicate the pose, it just takes it to the next level. I was like, Kian rather was directing me this morning. He was rushing, and no, you need to. She's like, move. She's like forward, but this arm seems to be. It's so complicated. It was so crazy. It's not exactly. I wanted to be as accurate as possible because of the previous two paintings, but this is the best I could do. These are both amazing. So that's just gonna be it. And talk about the sharpness of smartphones, which I don't like. This is a good example because this photo was taken in the 70s, I believe, 1978. I think the photograph was taken 1978, and no, it's not possible. And the painting was done 1988. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah. So you can just tell already that this is like so soft and fuzzy and unfocused. Even this one, I would say 2001. I don't think. Yeah, I think I'm so curious about the artist. By the way, we just put up a photograph of her. This is the artist. She is not working on paintings right now, so I don't know if that was part of her thesis or um, I don't know. It's just she's not on Instagram, by the way. She's not on social media, so this is so nice. Also, her business. I don't know if her business is on Instagram or not, but she's running a raw food restaurant. I'm just super intrigued. I just want to talk to her. I just want to reach out and just find out. But anyhow, let's just start the painting. And let me just focus this. So Richter confessed, or not confessed, talks about when he started doing all these things, when he went to art school in, I think, Dusseldorf. I think it was Dusseldorf. A very hard art school to get into, but he did get into. His professor was Joseph Beuys. I don't know how you pronounce that last name, but there was an article actually um, in somewhere online, one of those not very good articles saying, Joseph Beuys, real or a gimmick, something like that. Anyhow, he was his professor. He confesses that he used a projector for all these paintings, and he even says, anyone can do this. So I just mentioned this because it's important to understand that even though we have this high realism on the painting, he transferred the actual photograph by projection onto the canvas. I think it's on canvas. So um, do or try any kind of like trick in your pockets or whatever to translate the image the same way if you want to. So what I did, I just tilted it a little bit. I cropped it. I printed it on 11 by 17. And I am just going to use the yardstick. And I'm going to try to just find some points on the, yeah, I'm going to find some points. How should I do this? So perhaps I will do the hair maybe. So this feels a little bit off. Yeah, let me just find out. Yeah, so the idea will be to transfer it or freehand or with a grid or I don't know, any kind of like method that you can think of. So I'm just using the yardstick and I'm just gonna go right ahead and of course, also, I think we did something similar somehow when we did painters painting, or something like really similar. But I feel like that wasn't as confronting as this because I remember the image was smaller. And I just saw images of myself looking back. And that's another level that I feel thrilled to have experienced doing this. Because there's certainly something that I almost don't recognize on myself about myself. There's something that it's confrontational. I don't know. It's just I'll try to be able to articulate, but it wasn't an easy sort of like fresh. Oh, I took the picture. Yeah, this looks great. Let's do it. No, it was like, oh gosh. Maybe because I looked at the painting so many times and it's so with the colors and everything. So when I looked at this, I was like, my goodness, who is this person? Almost. So I'm doing my potato shapes. So there you go, potato shapes first. And then there was something very cool about the triangulation of the torso that it was so hard to achieve because so Kian was holding two phones. On one phone, he had the image of the painting. And by the way, I thought he did recognize the painting, but it was the first time that he saw the painting. For some reason, I think I just saw it somewhere else on my own. So he had the painting on one side, and then he was looking at the camera on the other iPhone. And he was just giving me directions, this elbow, no, extend it. And I just like strained my neck at some point, and I was just like, how is this possible? We used a chair, but it seems like there's no chair on the painting. So next time someone tells us, yeah, tell us about this painting, I'm just gonna say, well, do you have a minute? Because I think this experience really made me just go a little bit deeper. Okay, so I'm gonna try this. So potato shape wise, which is what I'm interested in right now, I'm gonna find alignments. I think this is a little bit poofier. Okay, and then this I just simplified. Careful with because I'm doing it already. Careful with the separation between head and shoulders. Even though there are no facial features on this portrait, we're still dealing with figure stuff. And there's always a tendency, we talk about it all the time, and I do it every single time. I just fall flat. We make the head and the shoulders really close to each other. We don't give enough space for the neck. And I'm just doing precisely that, just that. So just revise that before you move into structural lines. Don't rush or speed up the process here, because I use mostly the yardstick to align the top I aligned the figure or the photograph at the bottom. I cropped it with similar proportions as the painting with the negative space. And by the way, I'm not going to do any of the negative space because I think conceptually that's very important. I was debating if I should do something on the background or not. And that's a creative choice, by the way. But in this case, I think since we have been exploring making greens with yellow and chromatic black, and it's been so rewarding. This is the one of the cypresses that I painted 2 weeks ago. So I feel like, I'm just going to continue with this soft, flat background. Okay, so before doing any structural lines, I'm just going to continue with the potato shape. It's going to be more like an Egon Schiele portrait rather than hyperrealism. Well, that's not even in the bucket, the hyperrealism. It's just going to be our version. So, yeah, just watching some interviews with Gerhard Richter and stuff. I think he's 80 something. His second wife was a famous German contemporary artist, conceptual artist, that is represented by Hauser and Wirth. Isa Jensen, I think, something like that. Jen, if you want to look into it. Isa, IZA, or Isa Jensen. We did a serious collection of paintings inspired by her mannequins. She dresses up at some point mannequins with all sorts of like things. I love her work. She was his second wife. In an interview, she says that she became an alcoholic due to the relationship. And after she left him, she started drinking. So just going to be a little gossipy here. And Gerhard Richter, amazing artist. I'm not sure as a person what kind of character we're dealing here. So Jen, if you want to do a deep, a little bit of yellow journalism for us.
You got it.
And find out if the relationship affected Isa's career, because this is something that gets repeated in art history every single time. I'm assuming she was already an artist, obviously. So I just wonder how hard it was for her, or if she had any struggles, because spouses of artists that amass such recognition and financial success tend to be swept under the rug of history. Okay, I'm just I'm moving into structural lines and also doing a little bit of shading. Time-wise, I'm okay, so I'm watching the time. With portraiture and figures, I like to spend a little bit more time sketching. So I'm not going to force myself. I'm not going to time myself too much. I think this stage is crucial and very important. So I'm going to go one step at a time. One of the things that I feel it helps when we start sketching and analyzing, or is to slow down a lot, and not just slowing down for the sake of slowing down, but slowing down, taking pauses and assessing the structure of that sketch. So just running imaginary vertical and horizontal lines, comparing positions over and over again. Trying to connect dots, like literally. So the eye socket with the ear, how far is it from the back of the hair? So the hairline, let's just run a vertical line and see if we can discover something. Let's just find out where the neck or the beard ends. So part of like refining and advancing the structure is testing it. I think that would be the best way to expose it. Test it, run imaginary lines, axis, come up with a system of visual metrics that allows you to make comparisons. This is not like a secret in which, you know, the more you do it, the better you get at. That might be the case. I don't think, I've never relied on that. The more you test, the better you get at. So I think that would be my conclusion in that sense. So always try to come up with any sort of measuring, comparing, aligning, pausing and looking at the photograph without drawing it. That helps a lot, by the way. Everything that you can think of, every tool, every imaginary test, visual test, you need to deploy it. And every painting is different. It's not going to be like, okay, I'm just going to look, do, and then hope that this, you know, by practice, this gets better. It doesn't, in my experience, that's not the key. So slow down. That's number one. And number two, test. So this is even lower, for example. So I did the second structural line and I realized that this is even lower. And again, and it's, I'm like even flatter. I mean, I was just like, she has the chest a little bit more forward. I don't know. It's just so fascinating. I mean, I saw the position is, and I thought, you know, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be easy to replicate, but I didn't imagine it was going to be so challenging. Which I love. I think that's really cool. Yeah, so by the way, yeah, I'm just going to continue some structural lines and then testing. I already shifted and moved things on the first potato shape or the initial potato shape. So that's just going to be that. Constantly flickering your eyes, constantly running imaginary alignments. By the way, I should know this, but I don't. There is a muscle. I think it's a muscle. I'm not sure if it's a muscle or it's sort of like, and Jen, I'm just gonna add that to things to find out for us. We always talk about the neck connecting with the back of our ears. So there is this tendon or ligament. I think it's a ligament. It's not a muscle. It's a ligament that starts from the bone behind our ear and it goes all the way down to our collarbone. Can you find out what the name of that? If it's a ligament or a
Sure.
or a muscle? Because I think even though I have the hair behind the ear, I just want to identify that. I think that's very important. Anatomically, yeah. So
Okay, it's called. Okay, there's. I'm not sure which one. I think the one you're referring to. I gotta put it in the chat. Okay, it's called sternocleidomastoid.
oh, okay. That's really hard. So that's why we don't know about it.
I'll put a picture of it
Okay.
in the thing too.
Okay.
And the other one that kind of goes, it is like in the back and it kind of goes towards the back is the trapezius. But I think that the one you're exactly referring to is that first one I said.
Okay.
I will put a picture of it.
Okay. Sounds good. I believe there's a drawing by Leonardo da Vinci, because he was a creep, and he loved to dissect corpses or look at corpses when they were dissected. I think that's more likely. And he did a drawing of a neck of a man. I think that's a famous drawing, just describing that neck. So at that point, artists were, he was, I'm sure he wasn't the first one, but he is allegedly one of the first artists who used medical anatomy to actually draw figures, because before that, artists just relied on the surface, and they did not have any knowledge of the actual anatomy of the body. But he did study the body and at that level, and that was reflected on the way he drew figures and painted, which I find very interesting also. And there is a famous drawing of a neck. It's just the neck, and it looks like a medical book. Okay. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna go have lunch. I don't want to. I'm terrified of moving forward. Sometimes when you have the sketch, and you feel good about it, and then you're like, oh, do I really have to go there? But yes, so I'm really happy about testing. We have time. It's not even the first 30 minutes. Make alignments. I just feel like there were some weird things on the beard and the neck especially, and the Adam's apple or whatever that's called. I don't know. So I constantly test the lines. So here we go. Yeah, it was quite something when I saw the images, and as I was mentioning earlier, we have always a hard time like seeing pictures of ourselves. Obviously, I think at least I do, but there was something confronting about seeing a picture of the back of you. So this is also it's also very helpful. If you ask me, every time something gets revealed about myself that I wasn't aware of, at first it comes as a surprise, whether it's physical or whether it's like something else. But I've always had this approach to these things as, you know what, I'm grateful because I know now more about me than I did before. So I'm being completely abstract, but I'm also being sincerely, truthful. That there's something about self-portraiture that helps me make peace with my own body, my own face, my own look, that I feel like otherwise I almost look away, thinking or talking about looking away. There's this sense of like, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the changes or anything. So it's a psychological helpful way of getting acclimated to the slow changes in our bodies as we move forward in life. So I try to, of course, I try to tell this to some close friends that have precisely the opposite opinion, and they are having some very hard moments reconciling with their own bodies. I understand, and I'm young still, and who knows, in a few years I'll probably say, what kind of like nonsense were you talking about when you were that age? But to me, it's just an opportunity to reconcile. There's definitely that word comes to mind, reconciliation. And so this was a good exercise for me, discovering things about myself that I don't know, it just felt like I looked different than I thought. All right. What else, Jen? Isa Jensen, what happened to her?
Yeah, I'm reading about her. Okay, so really the only. Oh, okay, so I don't know. It's kind of. Whoa. Let me start over. I'm in.
That's
Just in Wikipedia, so it's not, this deep dive into this
of
romance
course, of course.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems that she was his first wife.
Oh, what?
Yes, that he remarried, and I think is still married to this other woman. This other woman. How terrible is that?
So what's Anne? Anne is like second wife?
Oh, I don't even see an Anne. Okay, hold on.
I got confused also when, and I think I just replayed the presentation in my head and I was referring to father-in-law, but then it wasn't really the father-in-law. I mean, I just like, I think I just made a huge mess because I'm not very good to start with family things.
Mm-hmm.
Kian is excellent. He's the cousin of the first cousin and blah blah blah.
Oh
He's
gosh, I
like,
know it's so confusing.
but to me, I need to make a better effort understanding and being more fluid about making that connection. I don't. And then um, when I heard like a father-in-law and then aunt and father-in-law, then I thought, this is not, it's not right. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah. So
Hmm. Okay, so as far as he goes, okay, his first wife, according to Wikipedia, is Issa Jenskin. If,
no way.
yeah, and then his second wife, who he's still married to, it seems, is Sabine Moritz Richter.
So who is Anne? Anne, the portrait that she did of
Yeah,
Anne. Maybe they were not married.
yeah, maybe it was a.
I thought Isa was the second wife and Anne was the first one. Um,
Maybe I should deep dive Anne. Maybe that's the real thing.
or maybe, I mean, it's possibly me that I'm making things confusing. So I'm glad you're checking. And by the way, I tried to find a photograph of Betty, his daughter. I
Hmm.
would imagine that there's such a fascination for that painting and
Right,
that she would just, I mean, I don't know, just show up. I mean, I have found nothing.
right.
I know nothing. There's not a biography about that. There's nothing. And I feel like there's a dark glove in here. I'm not sure exactly, but I don't know. There's like, based on his history of not revealing and always covering up and stuff. And so I just wonder if there's a concerted effort not to disclose any, because she's not a minor now, obviously.
Right.
Any, yeah, who knows? It's like Picasso, everyone's, oh yeah, Picasso. And the family, it's completely screwed up, they all have PTSD because of the grandfather or the great grandfather. It's just a mess. It's just a total mess. They all are suffering. There is a generational wound that the artist perpetrated in the family that reverberates for generations. It's just so tragic. I mean, every time there's something, I think now there is a great granddaughter or a granddaughter. No, it's a granddaughter who sold what she has a few and sold one. There's another family member that she has so much anxiety and PTSD that she wants to get rid of anything that reminds her of Picasso. So I think she's just selling or she sold everything or something like that. And with this, I'm not sure exactly. I just, there's so much darkness and so much there. I don't know. There's something to me that speaks of pain. But who am I to mention anything? So I'm just gonna start with the wash. I'm using solvent. Some people have started using some oil, even for that. I am not ready yet. I just need to do a little bit more testing. I'm using the citrus solvent, and I'm gonna go darker to lighter. And I need to, you know what? This will be a good opportunity. I need to refresh my paints because I didn't have time, and I'm gonna do it right now while we talk about those things. And yeah, during the presentation, when I kind of like read a little bit the plot of the movie, which I forgot, I just remember everything, and it's the Never Look Away, by the way, the German movie, and it just, I got chills, it just got chills. I mean, that movie is just so nuts. And hopefully, here's another sort of like black glove. Why is this movie like 4 years ago still like $15 to rent? Is there something there? Is there a legal Damocles sword over it that makes it inaccessible to people? This guy is a billionaire. His worth was $700 million back in 1998. So you can only imagine his worth today. So money gives you power. So I just wonder. I just wonder all these things. I don't know where that could be also interesting, Jen, because this painting has been loaned to many museums. So I wonder if the painting is backed in the St. Louis Museum of Art, which I find really fascinating that it's there. Not because I think less of that museum that I don't know and I've never been to, but whoever was in charge of organizing the purchase of this painting, I would say, well done, well done. Not just because Germany is making sure that the Richters don't leave the country, because he's such a brand now, especially like earlier works, but also because they beat any other bigger fish in the pond in getting that painting before them. Because you think, okay, well, MoMA or the Whitney Museum, they would get their hands on it, but no. St. Louis Museum of Art, I've never been there, but I would go just to see the painting. Put it on your bucket list for the future, to track this painting down. It is, I will tell you this, it will be a religious experience, even without, or with all the studies and everything. Because when I saw the painting, I had no idea about the artist at all. It was a time, I mean, I didn't even know that he was a big deal. And without that context, it was a religious experience. Let me just say that. Yeah. So totally worth a trip, vacation, a holiday around just like catching that painting. That would be an interesting travel agency. Organize trips to see paintings around the world. Who's done that? Let's open a travel agency, Jen. We can even go to Italy.
How amazing would that be?
Yeah, that would be a great idea, actually. So based on where the paintings are, go to where's the Salvatore Mundi? I think it's forgot the name of the country, but Salvatore Mundi, and then whatever, you know.
I was lucky enough to see
Yeah.
his work at the Art Institute of Chicago,
Huh?
and it was below you over, insanely gorgeous.
Oh, we need to tell Dan to go.
Yeah, I wonder if if any of it's still there.
Oh, well, you're saying that it's there right now?
No, that's what I'm wondering if it's still there.
Oh, yeah, it's been like it's been everywhere. It's been everywhere.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, it looks like, yeah. So remember that the painting of the woman descending down the staircase, Julio?
Yeah.
It's like in his style of that that blurred kind of thing.
Yeah.
Looks like that's still there. Yeah, actually there's still quite a lot there.
In Chicago.
Yeah. The candle!
The candles. Yeah.
The candle's there. Holy moly.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, the candles are beautiful. He did a bunch of them, actually. But yeah. So I want to buy his book. I think, you know, I want to read more about stuff. I think it's amazing. But I watched an interview, and that doesn't speak very well of himself. I found a flaw, Jen. So
there had to be.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that it's a truckload of
Yeah.
craziness. But it may be, I don't know. I don't want to sound ageist. By saying that, I already am. But so he traveled to St. Louis, actually, to the museum, and he was invited. He went there. I don't know exactly the situation or the year. It was recent. It wasn't a long time ago. And they did an interview at the museum, and the interviewer, speaking in German and stuff, the conversation didn't start there, but at some point after like 10 minutes or so, the interviewer, who I thought it was pretty good, mentioned the political situation in Germany, Angela Merkel and refugees. And he didn't ask him directly what he thinks of this welcome policy, because in Germany, you know, Angela Merkel, the doctrine is to just welcome refugees, period. And he went off the rails, Jen. He went off the rails. He was against it. He didn't agree with it. He said he would never invite anyone at his house for dinner unless he would know that. I mean, he was completely on a xenophobic rant. And then the conversation kind of like moved away. But I was shocked. I was completely shocked, especially because the history of him escaping East Germany before they put the wall up and going to West Germany. And it makes me think that precisely, I'm going to generalize here, but precisely, I'm going to use the term, those people are the ones that are the most xenophobic.
True, friend. Oh my goodness, you're so right.
I don't know, but I was completely in shock because his history, it's like of he was a refugee, and then his father moved around just to avoid being part of the Nazi nonsense, and yet he was totally against this policy. I don't know much about the policy, the refugee policy. And I'm completely ignorant, but to me, it's like, you know, let everyone in. That's what I would do if I were Angela Merkel, you know. of course, I'm being completely naive and ignorant, but yeah, I just feel like, you know, it's a plus for the society, for the country. Anyhow, he surprised me, but at the same time, if I may say this, and I know that people maybe in the audience have German roots, it sounded very German, you know, um, and that I know that's not the right way to say this, but
Meaning opinion.
his opinion, yeah, the opinion, the political opinion on this, you know, was just very much no black and white, or
Yeah.
I mean, you would just go through the conversation in such a intellectual way, and he is always fascinated by chance. He made his career around um, what's the term when something happens by chance? Serendipity, and he talks about that and how that is at the core of what he does. So it almost feels like he has this open mind about how the universe sort of like brings things to you and takes things away. But when that element came, it was just sort of like, no, you know, we won them out, you know, which, yeah, and it's such a, maybe that's a very sore issue in Europe in general. Um, but in Germany in particular, just because it's been a country where people have gone to when they leave their, including Spain, people from Spain, they had no choice but to leave the country because of high unemployment, young people, and go to Germany. Maybe that's why it just shocked me as well, because I know people that had to leave Spain, young people, and they ended up in Germany, not by choice, but because the opportunity was there. Okay, so yeah, I think it's better if we move away from this touchy subject, because who knows what I just said. That's terrible. That's my wash.
No, I think it's interesting. Oh,
Go ahead, Jen.
Interesting.
Save
I
me.
think it's no. I was just I mean, you kind of said it best. It's like you just wonder where this comes from. And I know, like, ooh, I'm afraid to say this too, and so I'll stick my foot in it, Julio. So to save you, but yeah, you do, as we said, wonder if this is something that came with age. Ooh, I know that's mean to say.
Maybe, I mean, maybe not with that, but maybe with money. I think that could be a better way, because, you know, for someone who has this amazing power that can control, bend reality around yourself, what do you care? I mean, what's up? What's gonna do to you if someone is running for their lives and then trying to get a better future somewhere else? It's not like you are in a position where, you know, someone takes your place, you know. Someone takes your place and takes your job, or you feel threatened. This guy is a freaking billionaire.
Right. You're so right.
When you get to that point,
loss of,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. It's like there's such a loss of not reality, but that, oh my gosh, this like sense of oh my gosh, you guys, my brain is not working this morning. Yeah, just what you said, ditto.
Yeah. No, I understand, but yeah, I don't know. That's you know, of course, kind of like reading and moving, or sort of like trying to find out a little bit of a context. That I came across with this piece. You know, some articles made a big deal, especially in Germany, about his statements at the museum outside of the country, and you know, so I don't know where he is politically. I mean, one of the things also that's very important in his work is that he went through such turmoil when he was young. I think Dresden was bombed
Yeah, it
after he
was.
escaped, right?
Oh yeah, Dresden's huge.
So one of the things in his work, by the way, he doesn't reveal the personal stories. By the way that um, he treats the subjects or he brings subjects, he says that he doesn't want to be political with his work because he wants to escape and not deal with all that. You know, he doesn't. He feels like style is a form of violence.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the quotes that I found like really remarkable at the beginning. He said, you know, he wants to get away from style as much as possible because style itself, it's a form of oppression or violence. Or so someone who seems so apolitical, there is definitely something, as you said, um, whether we're on target or we're completely off. Maybe it's just the money situation, or when he's like so political in that sense, then you're like, you feel like, okay, what's going on there? As you said. Um,
We'll probably never know.
yeah. Yeah, we'll never know. He's very private. And then, yeah. There's another instance. I'm just doing my first notes and darker to lighter. So I'm using the medium right now. I think that's medium. And I'm not going to test the colors, but I should maybe. So first notes, we went from sketching, or what was the word? I forgot. Diseño, perhaps. I think that was one of the words, diseño. We did the imprimatura. The imprimatura is the wars that we know for certain. That's the name of the stage. So imprimatura is done. And now we're going into the first um, notes. And I'm using the medium, I'm using neutrals, and I'm going to do darker to lighter. So that's why I concentrated on this area. But my brush stroke is already being texturized. So maybe that's not a good idea what I'm doing. Let me just check the color of the hair. Actually, that would be good. I'm just going to do that because I'm having a hard time. If you notice on the sketch, I used black and gray, but it's too neutral. I used raw umber, but I feel like it's too brown. So I'm having a little bit of an issue, like understanding the color. And maybe it's because I haven't studied the color. Remember with first notes, I need to change this paper because I think that's done. With first notes, what happens is that we move from color fields to color blocks. So perhaps, I should be more focused on color blocking. And at the same time, it's an opportunity, our first opportunity to study color. And I do love to study color. And by the way, this is just so amazing. It's so amazing. I highly encourage you to do that, even if you want to break um, that rule. But so I needed to bring a little bit of ecru in that combo to create more of an ash, because the gray was too neutral. I think I need to bring some of the gray. And I wasn't sure how to create the ash color that my hair has. And I just had to bring some of the ecru. Oops. I think that's it. All right, so this was really helpful. This was really helpful in order to study the color, find out and I'm gonna be more an applied painter. I'm just gonna make sure that I do the color blocking. Okay, so it's just the way I should do it. So mixing 4 colors: umber, black, ecru, and gray. And that gives me that ashy tone that I couldn't find. So yeah, first notes, color blocking, So I'm doing shapes right now. And also it's an opportunity to, at the same time, this black is too black, by the way. It's an opportunity to refine or develop or push forward the drawing, the structure, because I think, yeah, I think that's also very important. Okay, just gonna do another color blocking with slightly lighter, because there's a really huge transition from super light on top, and then a little bit, I'm gonna bring some white. It was shocking to see so much, so little hair and so much white hair. I was like, oh God. So yeah. I was gonna mention something. Oh yeah, what I was gonna mention, I found a fascinating article in that explains that very recently, a German politician used this painting as an illustration in the Senate or Congress or whatever political institution in Germany, uh, to make the case to pass legislation that I have no idea what it was. But the point is that he brought this painting, Betty's portrait. And the article was saying that in Germany, the psyche of society is still dealing with how to reconcile, if there's such a thing, with their past. There's always an experience that I don't think we're gonna ever be able to understand, even if someone explains us. But there is a general conflict and a problematic way to whether to reconcile or how to with their past. It's constant. It's in everyday life. It's in legislation that's being proposed. So it is omnipresent. So this politician, I'm saying this because this politician was pushing to break up with this sentiment, was pushing for leaving this trouble relationship with their past behind finally. And he was saying that it's time for Germany to look forward. And he used this specific painting as an example. And I wonder, that's all I read. I wonder if he got permission or if he's aligned with the same beliefs as Gerhard Richter, or that I don't know. But it would be interesting to find out what's the scoop on that. What kind of political, what side was he on? Maybe there was something there, another black glove. Because he, I mean, with the movie, for example, he made sure that there was no association with his paintings, names or anything like that. So he didn't want any association with this movie. So I wonder if that politician got the go ahead. All right, so I'm just doing first notes here, blocking out and kind of like pixelating, but yeah, I'm gonna stop here and then I'm gonna move to the next blog, which is the skin tone. And I feel like, again, I need to do a little bit of a study. The portrait of Kamala was one of those before and after moments, personally, just because there was such a revelation in understanding that I will not be able to study skin or see skin until I paint it. We make all sorts of like weird associations and we think like we got the race right, or whatever you want to call this. But only when you paint the skin, you truly understand the richness and the mixture, and in all of us, I'm saying in all of us, the distinction. Um, so absolutely no question for me to study um, the color of the skin on the photograph. And it seems pretty yellow. I'm going to stick with the print. So um, I think that's pretty good. So what I did is just yellow ochre and ecru and a little bit of burnt sienna. And I think for now, this is what's going to be. I'm pretty sure on a second pass, I'll be able to refine that. But for now, I'm just going to keep the formula super simple. I'm bringing a little bit of the light blue because I feel like it's a little bit on the red side. So I'm bringing the light blue to tone it down. And here I'm definitely going to do a very formal color blocking. I'm just going to block the skin. There's not going to be any texturizing or anything like that. So it's color blocking without shading at all. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And I have an opportunity here. I see differences from the first sketch. I have an opportunity to make some changes. I'm not going to do the necklaces yet. I'm just going to block this. I think that's good.
So Julio, I found an article about exactly what you were talking about the
politician
that used the painting.
Tell us.
Okay, so it says Germany's Minister of the Interior, Thomas de Maizière, let's just say that's how you pronounce his name, pulled out a photo of Gerhard Richter's painting during a speech on Monday to illustrate Germany's, quote, obsessive preoccupation with its past. Speaking at the meeting of the Civil Servants Association in Cologne, the politician from Angela Merkel's center-right CDU party said that Germany must strengthen its identity and look toward the future in order for the country to thrive. He used Richter's Betty, 1991, which depicts the artist's daughter looking over her shoulder with her back and face turned away from the viewer to illustrate his point. And then it quotes, "Do we know our own face?" he asked the audience. "Do we know exactly who we are and who we want to be? We must know our face to be able to give information and guidance to others who come to us," he said.
Wow.
To looking back, he said, it's important to face forwards as well. The picture was symbolic of Germany's search for collective identity, he added. And then it goes on to explain, like, you know, kind of where he got the idea, and then it goes on to talk about Richter and being a critic of Merkel. But I think this is interesting, and of course, like, my experience isn't, you know, doesn't represent all Germans, of course. Yes, Laura, I'm putting everything we talk about in the notes. You got it, lady. But my experience of Germans and Germany isn't, of course, like the end all be all, of course. But, you know, Carl's family is German, and they are immigrants to the United States. And I have to say that they look back and they romanticize the past, and they talk about their past so much. And they're in their 80s, you know, at minimum. And it's sorry, you guys. Someone is ringing my doorbell. I'm so sorry.
Go,
I
go, go.
will be right back.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
yeah.
weird.
So
I'm so
interesting,
sorry.
Jen. Yeah. Fascinating. I think this is super interesting. And thanks for, yeah, I think reading the article or just like exposing or just saying that, I mean, what a moment that must have been, you know, just holding up a painting in a political forum, and just sort of like saying this, which we can argue, I don't know, it sounds a little bit weird, by the way. So I'm not sure the kind of argument that he was trying to make, but it doesn't sound very obviously left-leaning. I don't know. All right, so first notes on the neck. I just blocked it. No complication here, no overthinking. That's what I'm, yeah, that's, you know, I'm just gonna continue with first notes on the gray. This one, I don't think I need to, I don't need to study as much. Maybe I do, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna do this. Add a little bit, yeah, I think I'm just adding a little bit of like raw umber on the gray. Oopsie, that's too dark, that's too dark. So more gray, less raw umber. And then here we go. And this one has a little bit less. So I'm just gonna bring now some white. I think I'm gonna introduce some white now. Yeah, I think it's time. I'm gonna introduce some white and just create more of a chalky, milky tone. And then I shouldn't do that, but I'm doing it. There you go, I'm doing it. I'm bringing like straight up white. Why do I say I shouldn't do this? Because I know that that's gonna change and it's gonna be a little bit of a headache to move the white around, but here I am, I'm doing it anyhow. Not smart. I will pay for this. Not a good idea, but I am doing it. How's that? Okay, good. So I think that's good. Let me just stir the pot here a tad. By the way, I'm just using very little medium or solvent. I mean, solvent, I'm just cleaning the brush, but very little medium, not too much. I think the more we're reading about classic techniques, the more it seems that they were very much thrifty in regards to using liquids, both solvents, if they use solvents when they had solvents, or mediums. So they did not rely too much on that. So I'm trying to practice that and see what it gives me. They instead relied more on more paint rather than more medium. So that could go either way if you ask me. Okay, so first notes on the sweater. I'm okay with that. As I said, I'm just gonna bring some Hansa yellow. And I have the chromatic black because I want to do a green. I feel like I have so many self-portraits with green that I want to just kind of like continue this thread. Maybe we can, I can just put them together at some point and establish sort of like a series. Oh, black. Where is the black? Where is the black? Here's like, I'm not getting organized here with the Ziploc, and then that happens. All right, so I'm gonna make like a big puddle of yellow and chromatic black. How's that? And I'm just gonna block out the background. I thought of, here's the artistic pickle. You could take a path in which you are actually truer to the essence of the assignment, if you want to call it an assignment, and create a faded flat area on the background. Or you could also just take the side road and then, or the small path, and then recreate the background the way you have it. Those two are creative choices. I feel I want to stick with the idea of a flat background for a couple of reasons. Even though I think this is interesting and I like it, I feel like I want to concentrate all the attention on one single focal point, and I just don't want to deal with extra peripheral focal points or that may just take away from the actual um, thing that happens in the painting. There's something to be said about that painting having what I called earlier a religious experience, and perhaps it's because she's looking at what it seems the void. There's no sense of being a room. There's no floor, there's no door, there's no exit, there's no window, there's no furniture, there's no light in that space. So I feel like there's something um, almost like a tenebrism, like, you know, by doing something darker and looking, maybe I should, you know what, I'm just gonna do more chromatic black. Sometimes these things help, being able to have an internal dialogue. I'm actually gonna do chromatic black and a little bit of yellow. How's that? Yeah, that's gonna be it. Yeah, because I was looking at these like lemon yellow or avocado yellow, and I thought, okay, well, that's gonna be it, but it doesn't have to be the yellow of a plant. So I'm just gonna do this black first and see what happens with the figure, and perhaps I will create something that conceptually has more depth. Nothing is random. I mean, even though it may be random, I like to explore or debate with myself what that decision will imply and what will it give me. And this was a perfect example of that, because initially I was going to do much lighter, but I think putting together all those reflections that I mentioned earlier is helping me making a decision about using a darker note, keeping it green. I feel like I want to change that. And this brings me back to Virginia's painting, the 2001 version that she did with the figure, the black figure, if I may say this, or the figure who happens to be African American. Maybe that's better. She used a very pale background, really light. I need to look at that painting again and see what psychological effect that has. 'Cause I just feel like that background has meaning. I don't know. There's nothing represented, but it has meaning. Just open. All these things and decisions and small elements that are so important. Let's not forget, I mean, this is the experience, the visual experience that we provide to the viewer that sees the painting goes beyond the technical aspect. In making our choices, we need to be aware that we will create an effect on the viewer that the viewer themselves will not be able to articulate. But just because they can't express exactly how they feel doesn't mean like that doesn't exist. The effect doesn't happen. It does happen. So I feel like with this kind of decisions, I just feel it's important to reflect and decide and talk about what it means, how true you want to be to your idea. Are you having a sort of like an epiphany? Do you feel like, there's something about that perhaps would elevate the tone or give you um, an aspect about it that will make it much more meaningful to you first, but also to a viewer? Um, these things are important. These things are extremely important, if you ask me. Okay, so this is the, yeah, I think that was a good idea. Okay, so I just finished the wash. I know I'll have to go back to this, but I'm actually happy about that decision. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take a mini break and sort of like assess the situation. So right now I am at the end. I finished, and I can say this with confidence because we have learned to be humble enough to understand that a painting is never finished, but we can decide to close uh, the stage or bring the curtains down, I guess. But at the same time, I feel like we can experience different finishing points or benchmarks throughout the process. So definitely, I feel I'm done with the first notes. I'm finished. It's done. This is over. I'm happy with it. And now I'm just gonna prepare and start thinking about second notes. Let me just describe second notes. I talk about pixelation. So I know that I have to create a spectrum of a wider spectrum of variations within the same color. I'm not adding anything extra. Um, and I can now decide and choose which part of the painting I want to start working on. Before, it's sort of like more based on the overall value of the painting, but right now I have to make a decision. And this is something that we recently talked about. The choice of the subject or the choice of location matters right now when you start second notes, just because it has to be a conscious choice. And I feel because of the painting and because of the experience getting here, I'm going to start with the hair. I think that's just going to be um, my location of second notes. I have about 45 minutes and I need to find out how I'm going to plan to use them wisely. I'm gonna time myself until 12:30 and see how much work I can do with the hair, and then I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna drop the brushes, and no matter how I feel about it, no matter the stage, that'll be it. And then I'm gonna give 15 minutes to the skin and 15 minutes to the sweater. I think I can just split it up in 3 sections. Let's do that. So again, it's not a bad idea. Sometimes we get carried away because there's something really nice about being present and plugged into an activity that keeps us engaged, and it feels really good. At the same time, highly encourage everyone to come up with a plan. Come up with a plan. The plan meaning a timetable, yeah, or of how are you going to split up the time that you have left, whether it is now doing this or when you're working on your own. Okay, I need to make more of the hair color with those 4 notes. And yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And pixelation, barely any medium because it's already wet. There you go. And try to do darker to lighter. There's a lot of transitions, so I think I'm just gonna try to do, I did the darker. on this area. Jen, are you there? Just checking.
I'm here, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't want to interrupt.
No, just like I was a little worried about, because we had a conversation about visitors to your
Oh my
house and
gosh.
stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny, as I was walking down the stairs, I was like, oh no. But it was strangely, it was someone with a gift basket for Carl. Um, so they were just the delivery service.
Okay.
I haven't opened the card, so I don't know. It's a fun gift. And then she started, and then of course my dog, you know, wanted some love, and then she talked for a good while about her rescue dogs.
Oh.
Oh my gosh! Like, how do I get out of this?
No. Oh, okay. Well, no, that makes me happy. Just like, it was
Totally safe.
it's
Thank
your fault. Okay, good.
you.
Oh man. So yeah, anything that you left to say before you came down? I mean, that
Yeah,
was fascinating.
I
And
mean, so a little bit of backstory for Carl's family is that they were children during World War II, and they escaped the bombing of their home. Literally, a bomb came through the youngest child's crib. Um, so they escaped the bombing of their essentially neighborhood and ran into the woods in the hills, and were in the same area as the Von Trapps. So if anyone knows like the Sound of Music story, it's they had a very similar experience where they lived off of this communal farm, essentially traded food on the black market for other goods, just lived in like as refugees essentially, um, in in this secluded area. So obviously there's a lot of trauma there. They literally ran for their lives and escaped like I said, escaped a bombing. So they talk about the past in ways of, what they miss. My husband's aunt talks about this little box that she has had in the top of her closet that was all of her special things, like little kids that they save all their favorite things, and that, that she wasn't able to grab that. And then Carl's dad, who's now passed away, just would talk about Germany and his childhood all of the time.
all the time.
All of the time. And almost like an obsessive, in an obsessive way. And if you like just happen to, to talk about Germany or childhood or anything, it was hours of a nonstop, essentially monologue. Like I said, there's a lot of trauma, and each of them show their trauma in different ways.
Yeah.
Of mental health, addiction.
Right.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I have to say that their complete obsession of looking in the past, it's real, I would say, to these, this particular group of Germans that I know. And like I said, total disclaimer, I know that this does not represent all of Germany and Germans, but from what I have seen, that has been my experience as well.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that, Jen. Yeah, I think that really helps build a narrative, perhaps, or just rather than build a narrative, just expand our understanding. Sometimes you need that experience, or you need that to create a better picture. Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't know. No, it's interesting.
I just wonder, like, I wonder if people from other war-torn countries like feel the same sense of longing and, romanticism about their countries. I know.
Yes, yes, I would say. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, I want you to tell me.
No, 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 no. Like in Spain, so in Spain was insulated from the invasion of Germany just because there was another dictator there and they were buddies.
Right.
So
Whee!
I guess, yeah. But yeah, there was a really vicious civil war and cities were bombed. My hometown was bombed.
Mm,
But that was before I was born, obviously. But
mhm.
yeah, in in I don't know, in my case or in the case that I'm observing, it's the opposite in the sense like no one wants to talk about it. No one
Mm,
up to now. There's been a push, also a dark love for not finding the mass graves during the war. And
mhm.
it's the last country, I think after Vietnam, Spain is the country that has the most mass graves in the entire world. And there was no interest. There was no interest in finding them. And now finally there are some families that are just pushing and they're just discovering. Yeah. And also there was a law passed in 2000 that was never enacted until recently to remove any names of streets and monuments, kind of like what happened here,
Sure.
that were so. And some people were in a town close to my hometown. There was a monument in the middle of the river for the victims. It's a typical story for the victims of the war, which meant the right victims, not the other ones.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they wanted to take it down. They wanted to take it down. Well, it took almost like 20 years because part of the town was saying, no, 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 let's not stir this pot. This is here and then it's been here forever. So why do we want to remove it now? And it just finally took another authority to say, get this shit out of this town in
Mhm.
order to finally do it. But there's this sense of like not moving, not wanting to move anything from the past. Don't touch it. It happened. And yeah, so no one, and it's just the typical, the only ones who want to bring romanticize the past are the right wing nuts that they just
Yeah.
say that with the dictator the trains were on time and people had jobs and there
Right.
was no violence, there were no robberies or anything. It's just like they romanticize and they say there was no crime,
Mhm.
things worked and everyone was employed, and now it's never like that anymore.
Sure.
But which is, I think it's like universal. Every sort of like right wing nut kind of like
Mhm.
once longs for a past that they feel like and there were no immigrants. I think that's another one.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely speak to my hometown in that same way. I think that there's this comfort, like you said, if you're on the right side of things, or no, 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 not
Oh,
the.
I mean, what is
If you're
perceived as the
on,
right side? Yeah,
yeah, I was gonna
I
say
got
if
you.
you're on a certain side of
Yeah,
things, that there was a time when quote like everyone knew their place end quote, and that includes minorities, women, that there were absolutely no immigrants. No immigrants were going to freaking Richmond, Virginia, you know. Um, but now it's a completely different world and city and time and
right.
space and
Yeah,
and it's I think it's frightening for the people that had everything planned out,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you know lived well under these unspoken rules. Shit,
Right,
it was
right,
totally spoken. Let's not
right.
forget there
Yeah,
were actual signs up. Um, this like quote, new world order, it scares them scared shitless because they're afraid of what that means for them.
right. Interesting. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. That is very interesting. That yeah. So um, anyhow, did you find anything about Isa Gensen or Isa Gensen?
Yes, let me tell you what I found
Okay, about her career before or after. I'm just curious about her artistic career through the
out.
marriage and before.
So she's still alive, I should say. She's
Yeah,
still, it seems, working. It seems like she's working a lot in the United States.
yeah.
Um, but okay, so her early life, um, she graduated from the Berlin University of Arts and the Hamburg University of Fine Arts. To pay her tuition, she worked part time as a model. She transferred to the Arts Academy Dusseldorf,
Oh,
also studying art history and philosophy at the University of Cologne.
is that where they met? Because I think he was a teacher in that university at some point or something.
It doesn't say where they
Doesn't
met.
say.
It does say upon graduating in 1977 that she taught sculpture at the academy and she married him.
Oh,
Like it says, she taught sculpture there and then she married him in 1982.
oh.
They moved to Cologne in 1983, and then this is it. And then this is it. The couple separated in 1993. Like
He's
that's the extent of their of what's in Wikipedia.
he still lives in Cologne, by the way. He's based in Cologne and he lives there, Gerhard Richter.
Interesting.
So that was the last move he made.
Um, so it says, okay, she's worked in studios in Dusseldorf, short stretches in the United States, in Lower Manhattan and Hoboken, New Jersey. She's currently in Berlin. After her divorce from Richter, she moved from the Rhineland region back to Berlin. And then it says at the bottom that she has bipolar disorder and goes through manic and depressive phases. She has frequently undergone treatments for substance abuse. It's kind of like a private thing to put in Wikipedia. I hope that that's something that she's been vocal about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I've heard that before actually. So she may have she may be okay with it. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, oh, by the way, let me just kind of like mention that I'm done with the hair. I just did a few darks and then lights, and I just want to do more because I didn't do the beard, but I said like 12:30, so half an hour done, and I'm gonna do the next half an hour until yeah, until 45. Yeah, I'm just gonna work on the skin, also darker to lighter. Maybe just add the necklace and stuff. So I'll do the second notes. These are second notes, but there's a conscious decision of deciding the location that I wanted to work first. I just uh, uh, going back to how we have the power to direct the viewer's experience with our painting, and we should consider that yeah, when we make decisions, because this is not a linear. If we start from this corner and we start painting, that's not how the viewer is going to see the painting. I think that's very important because sometimes we bypass that. We think, okay, I need to work on the sweater and everything like that. I feel like I have the potential here to direct the experience as much as possible, even though I can control that. But there's no reason for me not to think about that. And I feel like I wanted to start with the hair just because I wanted to give that much more prevalence. I'm going to continue with the face, and thinking of the painting, the face is a little bit smokier with more sfumato. So it will be treated differently, but I just have to build highs and lows on the face. And then I'm just going to do the sweater, but I'm pretty, and also I added some darker, I think I'm going to go darker on the background. I added some darker green just because there wasn't enough contrast against the hair right here, and it didn't show the shape. And also there wasn't enough contrast right here. So I feel like I want to take the opportunity to bring a darker green against the white, not only against the hair right here, but especially against the white, because that's going to create also an accessory focal point. In other words, that's going to be something that's going to hit the viewer in the first few milliseconds, because the viewer only sees a painting for what, a second or something. But this will stand out also. So that's the plan. And I wanted to say also, now that I just mentioned the plan, that the other day I was in a room. It was an incredible room on Clubhouse, because May being Mental Health Month, there are more rooms that are about mental health. And it happened to be a room full of artists. And I'm just, I don't know why I'm laughing, sorry, but they were just talking about openly about their bipolar lives, what triggered the manic, how far the cycles were. People were talking about when they were hospitalized, about their families, about art. It was just like really fascinating. And people were throwing some numbers. There were some really competent speakers right there that they knew a lot of information. And they were saying that there's a much higher rate of bipolarism, because the way they used language was very interesting. They didn't refer to words that implied illness, like syndrome or disorder. Uh, no one used bipolar disorder in the room. They were talking about their experiences with it. Some people were, with doctors, with practice. It was really great. But one of them said that there is a much higher percentage of bipolarism in the art world, in creatives, so artists. She didn't imply that artists are bipolar, but apparently it's not even close. There's a high percentage of bipolarism in creatives. So Jen, I don't know if you want to just do a little Google and find out if that's an actual study. And
Sure.
um, but I wonder, my point, and to build on what you said, Jen, is that perhaps uh, um, knowing that she is living
Mhm.
with bipolarism or bipolar disorder, I'm just going to call it like that. Um, she is okay talking about it, because I think I've just like seen it a couple of times, especially when they did the show at the Hauser and Wirth a
Mhm.
couple of years ago. It was part of the biography and part of the paintings. I mean, the paintings, the sculptures and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, listen, it's a new time, and I think it's really important to normalize these things and to not have it be taboo. So, I think as long as the person that, you know, has this, or, lives with this,
yeah, yeah,
is comfortable with
yeah,
that, then amazing.
yeah.
So
No, it was pretty amazing to just hear that.
she seems pretty amazing. I mean, she
She's a
plethora
freaking
of work.
genius.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I love her and I love her work, and totally bonkers and nuts. But just try to replicate that. I mean, you see the sculptures and you're like, is this garbage or what?
I love
But then you read the story and what she's trying to do and say, and I think it's genius.
it. Yeah, I'm posting a few.
Okay. And we did a series based on, we were totally
Yes,
obsessed with the mannequins.
so great.
The paintings were amazing. We
Oh,
we used acrylic, but it was so good to do that. Right, Jen?
oh my gosh. I think about those paintings so often. And
Good.
I think about, I still remember Chloe's. I loved it so
Mm,
much. And she was new to us at the time. And just remember kind of thinking, like, oh my
interesting.
God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I think I'm glad that her career took off and she is well respected and not, I mean, obviously not as well known as him for whatever reason, but nevertheless, she's a big figure in contemporary art. She did the roses, right? She did the roses,
Yes,
the
I'm
metallic
posting
roses.
right
There's one in
now.
New York. There's one in Paris.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, I'm posting one right now.
Where else? I mean, we're not gonna get one of. Oh, she planted a rose in the metallic towering rose. We wanted to go paint that rose at the uh, gallery that I just said and I forgot. The Hauser and Wirth in the patio during her show.
Really?
Yeah, they just brought.
Here?
Yes, here. It was amazing.
The only
It
one
was.
I'm finding is the one in Germany, but I'll look for the Hauser and Wirth one.
Yes, 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 yes. We have pictures. We wanted to go there. They said no to us. But we did try. But yeah, I love that. I mean, this is such an odd comment, but there's a museum in Paris, a Louis Vuitton museum, contemporary museum. It's amazing. And they have one of the roses. So, and the one at the MoMA, it's in the permanent, in the garden sculpture. That's there all the time. So she's up there.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Okay, so I'm just continuing with the skin. I said I'm going to spend 15 minutes and I'm just trying to build highs and lows here. Just build highs and lows. And that's it, without thinking too much. I'm saying this because I'm already thinking that I want to make so many changes. I'm going to use the word changes. I think that's important. Okay, I think that's good. And what else? There is a little bit of a lighter. I'm going to use the zinc white to lighten up because I think that's it's a great note to make lighter colors without creating chalkiness. I'm not sure if it's working or not, but I'm just going to do it for now. And then on that very complicated ligament to pronounce, I'm just going to do another one. And I need to change this rag. This rag is totally, look, this was white and it's like cardboard right now. It will catch on fire one day. So yeah, it's very, I mean, I'm just like, I think this is very strong. The values are too strong, the shadows, I should say. So I may need to tackle this a little bit later, but I'm glad I was able to just build some light and shadow on the ear. I think that's very good. I am going to use the small brush and blur these edges with the background because I feel like that is so crucial, not only to integrate it, but to give the idea of this old school photograph that the iPhone sucks at. iPhone cannot do that. So just bringing this total, almost like blending between the edge of the skin and the background makes a huge difference if you ask me. So good.
Leo, we have a question about how to tackle pattern on like a shirt.
Oh, okay. On general terms, what I would say, it reminds me of the series we did with the Chins couch. We painted Chins couches once, and imagine a form with pattern on it. And we had to follow a structure. The pattern is the last thing you paint. I think that's what I would say. You have to make an exercise to visualize. I'm going to use the word visualization because it means the creation of something that doesn't exist. Visualize that form without pattern first. Look at it and see if you can identify a light source. You can identify something that's lighter versus something that's darker. That's number one. And if the shape is dark, there's still variations in light on the form, but you have to visualize it without the pattern. Once you created a certain illusion of a form, then at the last stage, I would say, um, I would just add whatever graphic, if it's a graphic pattern. I consider pattern and texture two different things. To me, a pattern is something that repeats, that's more geometric, that kind of like has a graphic effect and it's more recognizable. So a pattern, thinking of the painting of Betty, those reds, so I would just like sketch them with the color on top of the form, and try to see, you kind of like spread them over as a top layer. If there is texture, that's a different story because texture doesn't repeat and it's not as graphic. There's more like rhythm. So I would just simplify it a lot. But form first, visualize it without pattern, last layer pattern, and kind of like do the graphic sketching over it. You can simplify it also. You don't have to do the whole pattern, but that's how I would tackle it. And once we exchange and share after the break, I could be more specific about the pattern and the position, but that's how I would do it. And that takes me to I didn't do the necklace, but it takes me to the final 15 minutes, which will be concentrated on the, let me just do this because it was so good to kind of like do some sfumato. We got to thank, I don't know if we should thank him because who knows. We got to thank Leonardo for the sfumato. All right, I'm done. I'm finished with the two first focal points. I'm going to continue second notes. I'm still in second notes, but this will be my third approach, 15 minutes to do this. And then what? I feel like now I need to study this. So I'm doing second notes still. Gosh, I need to paper, but I need to definitely study the value because I just feel like it could go so many ways, value wise. Like this is super dark, so I was afraid of that because I feel like with the shadows, and this is super cold, so I need to maybe just bring some of the ecru. It's a color that no one talks about, that to me it just shows up everywhere. It's part of everything. It's sometimes by itself, but it's definitely a very, you ask me, very important ingredient in color mixtures. Okay, that is good. I'm so happy I studied the color. So happy. I'm doing darker to lighter, by the way. So this was extremely helpful. And I'm squinting my eyes because it's a large surface without edges. I cannot tell you how wonderful this is. What a great practice. I'm so excited and so happy that we're doing this. So happy. It's such a great practice. To practice color, to practice, yeah, everything. Uh, yeah, it makes me really happy. So I'm just gonna continue with this area and try to blend a little bit. And then I'll just do the folds right here. Also, my mind, there was another amazing essay about the painting Betty, um, Betty's portrait. And that has to do, and that blew my mind also. So this is, and hopefully this is going to turn the tables. So this is Richter's daughter, okay? And obviously she symbolizes a lot because of the portrait he did of her mother naked when she was 3 months pregnant, coming down the stairs. There's something that throughout his life, at least when he was dealing with figurative subjects or portraiture, that was deeply personal. So this is someone that you not only love unconditionally, but that you associate with so many new things. Um, this painting does not, well, I mean, it's a question I'm throwing to you, Jen. Do you think this painting speaks of fatherhood? Do you think like a father would choose this particular view to represent his daughter? I mean, it's just puzzling. The article was saying that it's really puzzling that the article, the bottom line said that there's none of that. This is not a painting about fatherhood.
So it's interesting in the composition of it, because I have to say, when we taught the kiddos, and this wasn't one of your lessons, this was one of Amanda's lessons, is the kids all did the back of their heads, and they just used like Sharpie and pencil. I'll post it. I one of our students, and it's, so the composition that we had is just straight on the back of the kiddo's head. And I bought it. I loved the student who I bought it from, and I remember. Oh, you know who it is, Leo. Remember Brennan and his
Yes.
for his lessons? Yeah. So I bought his essentially portrait, and I remember as I bought it, she said, "Oh, I almost don't want you to buy it. Like I almost don't, can't let go of this one." And
That's the mom or
that
the
was the
dad?
grandma, the
The
grandma,
grandma.
and there is something so special about this, and it just feels like it captures a moment more than just like the front of just like a regular portrait, self-portrait. It's so, I'll post it. I don't know, maybe no one,
Please, I'm like goosebumps right now.
but it's so special. But I know this sounds weird, but I also think it's because the
It's
difference
what?
is, I also like, I know this might sound odd, but
Yeah.
I think there is something about the specificity of it being a direct back instead of the turn. Does that make sense? So the composition is different, and that we're literally just having
Oh,
the back of his neck and the back of his head. And then he drew it, of course, which is very special. But there is something odd about that she's turned away for Betty. It's different.
yeah.
I don't know. Do you feel that way? How do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something about the omission of the predictable that makes it much more magnetic and interesting. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
and much more intimate because, there's no engagement between the figure and us. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
figure is not looking at us. There's another very interesting article saying that before this portrait, artists have never been able to deal with painting a child in
Mm,
a really in such a level, and
mhm,
there were examples of first of all, in art history, girls were thought to be not formed humans yet. So children in general, but specifically girls, they were thought to be not fully formed. So they were never part of, yeah, well, yeah, surprise, surprise.
What? Yeah. My lord.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but if you think of it, there were never paintings of
Mhm,
girls like that, or in this sense, throughout
right.
art history, 19th century and before. And then there were those crazy painters. I think Cadmus, I forgot his first name, the controversial painting at the Met of a teenage girl in a very provocative way.
Mhm,
So before Richter, there were some creeps that used Gauguin, for example, painted girls, but
mhm,
they were objectified.
mm,
So there is this article that's fascinating about how teenage girls have been represented in throughout art history, and it's never been until this portrait that completely changed the entire yes, there you go, Balthus, yes. Um, this completely took away the narrative, and I mean, I don't know how to articulate it, but he was, or he's considered the first one who is actually tackling a subject of a girl in a
mhm,
painting in an amazing way, personal, intimate, not objectifying it, everything that you would think of a portrait of someone else, let's put it this way.
mhm, mm,
And but at the same time, there's this isolation. I
mhm,
agree, I don't know how much of fatherhood there's also this voyeurism. And I
mhm.
want you, Jen, to find the portrait of Betty that he did before this one.
I already posted it.
Oh, because I think that has sort of like this creepy.
Yeah,
Okay,
totally. I agree.
so yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if he grew out of that, because it's not healthy, um, in my opinion.
Mm,
But this one doesn't have that objectification.
right.
This came after. This came after.
Yeah.
That one is also anti-portrait because the composition is sideways. So
Mhm,
he broke the rules of portraiture by painting a side portrait. It almost
mhm.
feels like the painting has been tilted on its side.
It looks like a
Yeah.
doll head or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like laying on the
It's
ground.
it's disturbing in
It
my
is
opinion.
disturbing. Yeah, I agree.
With the lips are open, right? It's just
They're
disturbing.
open.
It's
Mhm.
completely disturbing.
Yeah.
Um, but this one, yeah, this one has something different. It doesn't feel like a healthy father-daughter connection to me. I
Yeah.
mean, I imagine having a daughter. I'm trying to visualize it if I would do this. I don't know, because I don't have a daughter. I don't know what kind of painting I would do,
Yeah.
but definitely I don't think this would be it.
Yeah. Totally. That's what I mean though. Like given
Yeah.
his skill, especially like with the realism and everything, like I don't know, like I said, the composition of what I'm gonna post from our kiddo art class.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
If you would turn that into the painting of his daughter, and you know, like
Oh,
her
now
neck
we
in a
see where you're
certain
going.
yeah in a certain time, and like the ponytail and all of that, the same exact thing, and just made it like the back. I don't know, like that feels like a special moment in time, like that this innocence leaving.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, and like it doesn't always have to be the front of the face to show like, oh, my kiddo is growing, you know
Yeah.
um
Yes, Lois.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for future listeners, Lois is saying it's this is like also Andrew Wyatt's painting of
Yeah,
Girl in the Field. Yeah.
true.
But yeah, but I don't know. I feel like there's this moment captured, like this. Maybe I can speak more when you see it, but like this little boy, you know, and like his little haircut and his little neck, and I feel like that you could have really captured that with just a straight on, but this looking away, there's something really obviously different, and you know we're talking about it, and you know it's confronting in some strange way.
Yeah,
Yeah, as far as like a father painting a child in that way,
right,
right? I never thought about it, but you're right, it is.
right, right.
Mhm.
Wow, so good. This is so
So good.
interesting.
Yeah, seriously.
It's nice, you know. Let's also not forget that the origin of this was Virginia's painting that she did in
Yeah.
2001. And the this is, we could actually just kind of like pivot here before we finish and just focus on her painting and her subject and who is this person. And we don't know anything either because there's nothing written about that painting. This was shown in LA in a gallery at some point. I don't know where the painting is, but there's a difference. There's a difference. It's exactly the same thing, not only because it's a different person, it seems like more like an adult. You
Mhm.
don't feel that there's something awkward there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. It's funny because before I think that I even knew it was a young person, I assumed it was a lover of some sorts.
On
For
Virginia's?
him. No, 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 no. Sorry, for Richter's.
Oh,
Him.
okay.
Like I didn't like it was not until we talked about
Yes.
Betty and that it was his daughter that I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Wow, seriously.
Seriously.
We gotta be careful not to like that painting that much, I guess.
I mean, seriously.
I'm so happy that we just make sure that we sort of like bring in Virginia's iteration. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is what fascinates me, in the sense like, what were the reasons behind it? Because obviously
Mm-hmm.
even though it's treated exactly the same, but it's completely different. The implications are different. Um, Here's my dangerous question: does it make it a better painting, or does it make it like less interesting, Virginia's version? Because that's going to be something that I feel it can teach things about ourselves. Do we find it, oh, that's a recreation, but that one is really the good one? Or do we see?
No, I think
Right,
it's just the opposite. I
right,
think being able to, first of all, like take inspiration from him of all, like of all people, and then be like, I'm going to do my own spin on it. Takes such guts that
right,
should be celebrated no matter what. Like we should be celebrated and never doing.
right. It's
I know
true.
that
Yeah,
Virginia is our inspiration, but still, and then to put it in a different context. I mean, we
yeah,
talk all the time. Is that context, composition, like you said, those things mean more. And you know, while he, obviously is a billionaire off making art and having a specific skill, like the context and composition of the Virginia painting is so much bigger and bolder and more.
I agree.
And
So much more to unpack there, I think.
yeah,
And I hope there are more articles and things in the future.
yeah,
I think that she created something iconic. Sometimes when you recreate something and it becomes as iconic, and she obviously paid homage to the painting because part of the title is mentioning the title of the painting. So there's definitely, I mean, it's just like, I couldn't find anything. I think there's only one photo of this online, but anything really talking about this particular painting. the 2001.
Mm.
And I think it will, whoever owns it, this would be a good painting to catch if I were a museum. I'm just going to say that,
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's just going to be quite something that's going to be iconic in the future.
Yeah.
It's like a Kehinde Wiley painting
Mm-hmm.
the same position as Napoleon. You know, there's this
Mm-hmm.
famous painting of Napoleon on a horse. I forgot who did it, but that he loved that painting. And Kehinde Wiley used the same composition and put a black young man on top of the
Mm-hmm.
horse. And now, yeah, that painting is incredible.
I think that the even the fact that like she was able to spark conversation about Richter's painting. I mean, that alone shows you the dominance and
Yeah.
of hers.
Wow.
That we're now talking about a painting that, while beautiful, and I'm sure that we've seen it a million times, we look at it with different eyes. So.
Absolutely. Amazing. This was so incredible. This was so good. Thanks so much, Jen, for the amazing conversation.
Thank you.
I think, like, painting wise, I'm happy with the stage. I'm going to continue painting this week, and try to refine. I wasn't able to do a lot on the sweater, but that's fine. So I'll just continue. But I think I have a good base. Um, we'll take a break, and then we'll just talk more about what stages of your painting you're at, what it made you feel, or if you don't want to talk about it, no problem. But it'd be interesting to hear your, if you want to share your take on everything, history, painting, and all of that. So it's 106. So I'm going to stop the recording. Let's reconvene at 116. Stretch. Number one, hydrate, and take care of like liquids. So you feel always awkward mentioning, but yes, use the restroom, and then have a snack, and then take a picture of your stage. We would love if you would take a picture and share it. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you have one line or if you literally made a stick figure. That's not the point. So we can sort of like share. We'll give you our take on it, and yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really proud of you guys for taking on this subject. I have to say, before even opening the microphones later. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So 116, we'll see you then.